Hi, welcome to the Talking Sex podcast, where we talk about sex because it's a conversation that matters. My name's Ali and I'm your host. And today we're continuing our conversation with Noni and with Dave. And we're going to be talking about disclosure and how to do that well. Noni's been trained in a process called full disclosure, and it really helps people in such a healthy way really go through full disclosure. Whether you choose to do that or whether you just want to take some of the good that is in that, then that's clearly up to you. But I know that Noni would be very happy if you wanted to get in touch with her and actually book in to do full disclosure yourself. It's really healthy as well to actually understand this process, even if unwanted sexual behaviours aren't something that we struggle with. It's good to know what we can encourage and recommend other people to do too. So let's listen in now to hear what they have to share about this. But now you're in a very different place, and you've now had, so there was discovery after discovery, half-truths, half-truths, half-truths. And we've talked about in this podcast series already how incredibly damaging that is, because you build up trust and intimacy and then it's gone again, and you build up trust and then it's gone again. And I know, like, reading your story and listening to you now, just that is your story. Just heartbroken again for you, Noni. Dave, you giving half-truths. But you're now trained in this better way to do it, actually how to do like disclosures and not discoveries. So are you happy? Are you happy to tell us about that, Noni? What is a disclosure then? Unpack that for us.
So a disclosure is when the betraying partner comes and offers information. Now, it does happen sometimes that someone has been unfaithful and they've maybe gone out one night stand or something, and they cannot live with it, and they will go and they'll tell their partner straight away.
Yeah.
Generally, if there is a disclosure of that kind, it kind of, like there may not be a lot of other stuff, because really, they've acted completely outside of their core value, and they cannot live with themselves like that. So they want to actually come clean with that.
Yes.
When it's been discovery, it's generally not the first time you've been discovered.
Yes.
It can be. It can be, but then the actions after that are very telling about the willingness to move forward and do the work. When we talk about and disclosures can be really bad, like as in, because I know that we've experienced before too of people know that they've got to tell the truth, but rather than do it in a safe, healthy way, they'll just go and just blurt out all of the details.
Yes.
And there can be details that are so, they will just burn images into the partner's brain. And as Dr. Sherry Keffer says, there's no bleach for the brain. Once you have heard or you've seen, and particularly graphic details, that is horrific.
Yes.
And that's just more trauma for the betrayed to deal with.
Yeah.
So when we talk about doing a full therapeutic disclosure, the disclosure is done preferably with 2 disclosure guides, one for the unfaithful spouse, or the problematic sexual behaviour, the one that's been caught or got a history of sexual acting out, and then another disclosure guide for the betrayed partner. It's generally, and we've got a handful of disclosure guides here in Australia, but nowhere near enough for what.
Yes.
Now, what we call it is a right of truth.
And you are one of those.
I am. Yeah, I went to New York just recently to do disclosure guide training with Steve Stokes, who was a certified sex addiction therapist in Sydney, and Sharon Drayton, who is a certified APSATS Association for Partner of Sex Addiction and Trauma Specialists. She's a CSAT also, but so they did the disclosure guide training. They've both been doing disclosures for many, many, many years.
Yeah.
Now, ideally the way it's done is we work on a lot of body work as well, like to actually help both partners become regulated, because you can imagine
Yes.
this is a time of heightened distress. You've got
Yes.
an unfaithful partner or someone that's got problematic sexual behavior that is absolutely terrified, in a state of terror, that
Yes.
their partner knew the truth, that they're going to leave. And there's no
Yes.
guarantees. No. There's no guarantees.
Yes.
Now,
so also, as that person, as I discovered, you've compartmentalized so strongly over often decades.
Yes.
This isn't just about, well, you can go the history of your relationship, but also your own history, to give yourself the full colour of your makeup and where you've come from. But some things you forget, you put aside,
Yes.
far away from yourself. It's quite a process to find those out.
Yes, to find your own truth. Yeah, absolutely.
And even to find your true history, your absolute true history.
Yeah.
And what I've had is, like, in my life, is once I've remembered something, I can't forget it.
Yes.
And that's really horrible.
Yes. Yes.
But it's like, and you've come down to me from remembering more, going, yeah, a lot, quite.
But you're bringing it to the light. Yeah. Yeah. So carry on, Noni.
Where was I to?
Oh, but
so you both have a guide.
Yes,
if you've got a guide. And so there's a guy called Dan Drake and Janice Cordell who have written disclosure guides, full disclosure guide books, and they are
I'm just reaching for my coffee.
So good. They
so good. I haven't finished. I haven't read this one. This is the man's one. Oops. And there's a woman's one. Is it upside down? There's a green one. I'm reading the women's one, the green one. This is carry on, you say.
Let's just not get into gender specific, because
yes.
the blue one is for the person who is disclosing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ones are for the person who has been betrayed.
Thank you. That's so important that you say that.
It is, because, you know, I know statistically there's probably still is a greater amount of men who are, but the scales, you know, like, as we know, that it's kind of getting a lot more even. So
you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Gender, yeah. So so we have a series of sessions that we work out. As far as for the betrayed person, we look at a lot of somatic techniques to actually come into body and regulation, and so that we can actually not be completely thrown off with when we actually have these thoughts. We have to actually consider what questions we're going to ask. We go through a whole series of questions, and when we talk about questions, we break them into want to know versus need to know.
Yes.
A lot of the want to know questions can, and it's understandable that the betrayed spouse wants to know everything that happened, every detail, you know, to the point of description or positions and stuff, and there's stuff that's really not helpful towards healing. And ultimately, when we look at what's going to be beneficial towards healing, what's actually going to just create more trauma for you to have to deal with. And this whole process is really about the person that has been betrayed regaining their voice and their choice and being empowered to actually step into a place. Because when someone has been withholding a lot of secrets, there's a real imbalance of power.
Yes.
And, you know, they say that whoever holds the secret has the power. This is about balancing the scales again.
I love that. When I was reading the green books for the one that has been betrayed, that was really clear that it was about giving that voice, and that they are the one that actually decides what will be disclosed, that they gain that control back. I was really impressed when I was reading that's such a key factor. And I love what you were just saying about just having somebody else's wisdom outside of it to say, actually, you don't want to know that, because it's, as you say, there's no bleach for the brain, you know. So carry on. I'm really appreciating what you're saying.
It's like, you know, like to heal after betrayal trauma, We need, because what is taken from us is our voice and our choice.
Yes.
While ever Dave was withholding all of the information, he was controlling the choices that I could make myself. I couldn't make informed choices for my own health and well-being, and that in itself is an abuse dynamic.
Yes.
That's another whole area of this realm as well, is that, you know, infidelity is you know, and pornography and secret sexual problematic behavior is an integrity abuse disorder. So so for the betrayed spouse, we sit and we it's a lot of mapping out, and there's a lot of planning for safety. Safety comes first in this process.
Yes.
It's about physical safety, emotional safety. We, you know, look at sort of boundaries. We look at the what if questions. Well, you know, what is your worst case scenario? Just so that there's a plan of, we know what we're going to do if we get this information, or if that. And so we, you know, we go to our like our bottom line, and it's done in a way that it really equips the person who's being betrayed to, well, for both parties, like for the relationship really to actually have a brand new platform. And then for the person that is actually doing the disclosing, the process is, again, a lot of regulation, and it's not coming from that shame place. And this whole process isn't about shaming or blaming or anything. It's a right of truth. So that the new relationship, it's just the foundation for the new house to be built on.
Yes.
It's not the oh, we've arrived now. It's the starting point.
Yes.
And now that we've got this new bedrock of truth, we can build a brand new relationship.
If you choose to.
Yeah. And so,
or at least we'll have a relationship based on truth, whether it's together or not.
Yes.
And I think well, for you, it's, you know, learning how to own, like take full ownership for your choices, for your decisions, stepping out of that place. It was the woman's fault, or, you know,
or it was over here a long way away.
There's, you know, take out justification, minimization, what might have been going on. It's like there's no emotional kind of.
It's a fairly ruthless honesty and inventory. Very much like a 12-step. And it's really structured in a way that you go, okay, well, these list all the behaviours, and there's stuff that I hadn't really heard of, and look up what they were. That's okay. And then over time, and really methodical way of mapping it out.
Yes.
And then you see it. And oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Because also and again, the betrayed partner decides, do I want to know my partner's full sexual history?
Yes.
Or just from when we first met? Or, you know, from what kind of acting out history there's been from when we first met? And that's the betrayed partners. It's really enabling them to step into, I have the right to choose. I have the right to ask for what I need, and be supported by someone who will actually also facilitate these needs in the safest way possible. So there's a whole series of appointments that we have with this. It's a process, like generally 4 or 5 sessions. Depending on the extent of the acting out history.
Yes.
Depends on how soon disclosure can come. And then when disclosure comes, the discloser has actually filled out a document, the disclosure document, and they will, hopefully with their disclosure guide with them as a support person, read out the history of where you want, and that will deal with pornography, strip clubs, sex shops, you know,
the whole gamut of Unwanted.
Affairs. So we have a very clear description of what, and so both parties get a clear description of what they're talking about, because some people can go, you know, talk about pornography, but hang on, define it. Are you talking about, you know, full sex, Pornhub kind of stuff, or you're
Yes.
actually talking about what you find on OnlyFans or even TikTok, or, you know, let's actually make sure we're talking the same language here.
Yes,
So we
yes.
get really clear with where, you know, where you go to with that. I mean, to cover masturbation, and there's a lot of stuff that's in there. So then the through the process, the betrayed spouse decides what they want the room to look like, where they want to sit, do they want eye contact. There is a lot of how you want to have breaks. What are you going to do if you hear something and you just completely lose it? We have the right to say, well, Dave, can you leave the room, please?
Yes.
But it really is about being in a place where the person who's been betrayed gets to really show up and be seen and
start to regain some control.
Yeah. And so before that we actually work on different regulation techniques and things, and
I know that you've talked about when you guys did it, you used a polygraph, so a lie detector machine. So is that something that some people use and some people don't? Why do you decide sometimes to do that or sometimes not? Tell us about that.
Knowing what I know now, I would actually recommend everyone.
Okay. Yeah. But tell us why.
Okay. Someone that goes, if you're committed to doing this, if for me, I resist. I was horrified with the idea of a polygraph. One, I was horrified with of not being able to minimise or leave things out.
Yes.
Okay. But once I came to terms with that, I give up control.
Yes.
As a polygraph, chances are people will control part of the information. And I've got to say, giving up that control, I realised was a gift to Noni, but it's also a gift to me.
Wow.
To my healing and my healing. As scary as it was, and as difficult as it was and confronting, when I went to do it, I started looking forward to it. I wanted to do it because I wanted to get it right and I wanted this to be done.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it brought a true level of vulnerability and honesty because you knew it's all going to come out.
Yeah, and it is really hard. But yeah, for us, you've heard our story, been through, but like the crash test dummy for recovery, doing a lot of things not that well with the best intentions, but not that well.
I think it's important to say too that like polygraphs are used widely in America. They are used more here than what we probably realise, but they're not 100% foolproof.
Okay.
But it's also important to know they actually pick up deception, not someone who has genuinely forgotten something.
Yeah.
So they're actually there to monitor and pick up deception. And even when I say, they're not 100% foolproof, they're up close to 90%. And there's a very special way. I think there's more truth that will come out knowing that a polygraph is actually on the table.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I imagine.
Yes, because I am just going, I want to pass this polygraph. That's the one thing I want to do. I want to pass it. Right?
Yes, yes.
The way to pass it is if I remember something, I get it down in writing, and I describe it the way I'm meant to describe it.
Yeah.
And that's the point we got to.
I imagine for people that, and you said this at the beginning, Noni, that for some people, it's not years and years of this behavior. So I imagine the more complex the deception has been, and the bigger the basement is that you were talking about, that basement. What did you call it? The basement of?
Oh, the secret sexual basement. Look up Dr. Omar Minwala.
Yeah.
Yes. The bigger that basement is, the more it contains. The process of disclosure is going to be more complex, and the better a polygraph will be because it's so complex and there's so much compartmentalizing. I imagine if it's the smaller, the less, the smaller the basement, then it may not need that so much. It might be an easier process to get the full truth out.
Well, yes and no. I think when we talk about the truth, we've got behavioural truth and contextual truth.
Okay.
So one thing that's really evident, if someone is all in, I'm going to tell the truth, those behaviours like defensiveness, minimisation, justification, all of those like abusive behaviours, the controlling behaviours, they're on the way out.
Yes.
Behaviourally, like I'm 100% in this. So you will see, and this is, I know we had 3 goes at polygraphs. By the time we got to the last, I couldn't have cared less whether there was a poly involved or not. I really couldn't have cared less, because I could see the intentionality, the determination, the behaviour that Dave was showing. I could see his whole change over the last 5 years. I've seen a consistent change. So that's behavioural truth. He could have gone in and gone, yeah, I'll give you this, I'll tell you this, and see, I've told you everything. That's not actually behavioural change. That might be giving you the data and the contextual truth, but you're not actually really transforming there as a person. So if you've got if you've got someone that's 100% that they have like, if we talk minimal acting out, and their heart, you see their demeanor, they are all in. It's up to the betrayed spouse whether they want a polygraph or not.
Yes, absolutely.
That's also behavioural truth too. Is like, no, well, I'd feel safer if there was a polygraph involved. And you've got a partner going, don't be stupid. They'll have every objection in the world.
There's your problem.
They're not. That's your problem right
there.
there.
Problem there.
Because,
so I think it's a really good. It's like, like when we talk about betrayers, you've got a few different kinds. You've got those that get it and will do everything. They'll do everything within everything that's required to do the work to actually heal. Then you've got ones that are in denial. They're like, oh, well, it's a bit of a problem, or I don't know. They're not really seeing it. Then you've got ones that are fully entitled, going, oh, well, the problem's yours, not mine. I'm okay. You want that first person to go, you know what? I'm gonna be all in. And what does it feel like to be all in? I mean, it's hard, but it's rewarding. It's really hard, and a lot of time you read the stuff you don't like about yourself, but you end up liking yourself a lot better.
Wow.
Better relationship with myself.
Yeah, and I imagine you feel freer and lighter.
Yeah. Absolutely. But getting there takes a lot of work, and it's hard work.
Dan, that's written the blue book. Can you see that?
Yes.
Pyramid. That's pretty much the order. Like, after betrayal, we need safety. The relationship needs safety to get that, and the bottom line is honesty. Like, without honesty, you don't have safety. Without safety, you won't have trust. Without trust, you won't have vulnerability. Without vulnerability, you won't have intimacy.
Yes.
If you want a truly intimate relationship,
you need to do that.
Yeah.
I've got a very boring grey copy of that triangle. It's not half as pretty as yours, but I'll put that, if I can, I'll put that in the notes. As well. So just a final quick question. You mentioned there are different reactions that people can have. So what do we do if we are a betrayed partner and our partner says, either minimizes it and says it's not a big problem, or just says, I'm not going to work on it. It's not an unwanted behaviour, or it's an unwanted one, but I'm not going to do the work. What would you say to them, to the betrayed partner?
Focus within, not on them. Work on learning everything you can about good, healthy, values-based boundaries. Get support, find your tribe, and don't look for other people to change in order for you to feel better. Really focus within. Like when we talk about a boundary, it's like you know, and particularly post betrayal, it's things like, you know, really getting in touch with what you're feeling, you know, and generally we're not feeling safe afterwards because our whole world's just been blown up. We're in survival mode.
Yeah.
And so really get in touch with what it is that we need to feel safe and finding that safety for yourself. And focus, don't ever put the relationship above your own physical, spiritual, mental and emotional well-being.
Yes,
I think
absolutely.
we've come from a model of, you know, that marriage covenant at all costs.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, there's a lot of toxicity in particularly in relationships where there's been infidelity and pornography addiction.
Yes.
Because then there's that abuse element that kind of goes with it. And God does not want us to stay in a relationship where there's active abuse.
No, absolutely. I agree. I often think that sometimes when it's right to leave, there's that fear, well, I will break my vows. But clearly the vows have been broken, but not by them. The vows are already smashed to smithereens and it's not their doing. And so they're free to go.
Yeah. Well, Dave will say that it wasn't, you know, because I stayed, and I poured everything. You know, you can pour so much out of yourself that you've got nothing left for you. And, you know, it was actually me leaving that was the greatest gift, not me staying.
Yes.
So, and I would say to everyone, be prepared to walk away. Because we can talk and we can pray and we can, but you know what, sometimes, you know, and we can, our unconditional love can be done from afar. Unconditional love doesn't mean that we don't have, there's no consequences for being treated poorly or, you know, that covenant being broken because someone is acting out sexually. We can love someone with a healthy detachment as well. And I just think, you know, like we've got to be healthy individuals to have a healthy relationship. And, you know, just don't think that I'm only going to be a success if my marriage is like, do you want to really, you know, do you want to stay in, I don't know. And people also, they say, you know, I just want it to go back to normal. I'm like, there is no normal.
No.
There is no normal. And what they really want is they want the pain to stop, and the pain will stop. But I would say focus on doing your own work, focus on self-care, prioritize yourself and the things that you can control. And all you can control is what's within your ability. You know, like we can't control our children. We can love them, we can be there for them, but we must learn to really understand what is within our control. And you know, oftentimes it's like letting that person go to make their own choices.
And even the group this morning, and then talk about boundaries, and invariably, I said the setting of the boundaries helped them.
Yes.
Good for their relationship, was good for their recovery.
Thank you.
And it wasn't until they were put in place. Oh, okay. I know what to do, or I make a choice not to.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Well, that's the end of the conversation about disclosure. But join us in the next episode where it's the final part of my conversation with Noni and Dave, and we wrap up this topic as well. So join us then, and thanks for listening, because talking sex matters and you matter too. Bye-bye.